call the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. First thing is approval of the minutes of March 1st. Is there a motion to approve?
I approve.
Second,
Second,
any discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Next, we have communications. My biggest communication is from the highway department that River Road at Route 128 will be closed to through traffic on Monday, the 21st. So that means you, Priscilla,
Yeah.
working on the embankment, getting some of the rocks back. They got dislodged in one of the summer storms. So it will be open for emergency vehicles, but not for people, because we have to get an excavator, which will take up most of the road to help us there. So they're pretty hopeful that they can get the work done in a day. They're going to move some big flat rocks into the area and put them in place to stabilize that embankment. So we apologize for any inconvenience, and we're going to notify the people on River Road of what's going on. And Jim and the highway department is going to put up a sign saying the road will be closed on that day. So probably start at 7 o'clock and be done at 3 or 4.
And
So
no
I
walking
encourage-
traffic either, Gordon?
Probably not a good idea, because there'll be a lot of equipment in that area. It's pretty tight spot.
Yep.
We will have flag people there, so I'm sure people, if they do want to walk across, they can, but it will be a work zone with heavy equipment.
Okay.
So that is the news from River Road. Any additions to the agenda? Do we have a tax refund somewhere, John? Should we add that?
That's correct.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we add tax refund to the agenda at the bottom. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And the only thing I'd like to put on, to say at the start of the meeting, that obviously our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Ukraine at this time. The town of Cornwall has always kept its eyes open what's going on in the world, and it's just been horrific what the people in that country have had to go through. Their bravery has inspired people around the world. And I did talk to several parents of Cornwall young people that are in our armed forces. And so our thoughts are with those families too, that are being deployed. So it's very important times. And again, our sympathies are with people in Ukraine. So anyway, just felt I had to say that because we have our own issues, but just thinking what those people are going through is very tough. And I just encourage people to do what they can to support the many charities that are and trying to give some relief to the situation. So next we have our COVID update. The rates continue to go down very nicely. And there are still some cases in town that do come up. So again, at town buildings, we do encourage people to still wear masks inside, as is the recommendation. But it is voluntary at this point. And we ask people to do to do remote work as much as possible. Contact our people. And again, the wearing a mask at the transfer station is also voluntary at this point, but encouraged, because we do want to make sure this virus gets gotten rid of. So again, we will be looking at doing some hybrid meetings in the future. We're not there yet, but again, we are working with the library. They are looking at setting up a Zoom room at the library, so we can do a hybrid, which is in person and also remote access to those meetings for people that can't attend. So those are things that we're working on. There is a vaccination clinic in, John, do you have the dates on that? I think it's tomorrow. Did we get something up on the website about that Jem Marco was putting together?
Yeah, it's tomorrow. I want to say from 11 a.m. to, or 1 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah, that sounds right. At the town hall? Is that
Town
right?
hall. Yeah.
At the town hall, yes. So,
It's ages 5 and up. It's
Right.
free.
all sorts of vaccines and things. So again, encourage people to take advantage of that. And first thing tomorrow, what we'll do is make sure that's up on the website, that people know about it. Yeah.
And you can get boosters there too, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Great. Okay, so anything else on COVID? Next, we have to appoint our housing plan implementation group. We've talked about this last couple meetings. We did pass our housing plan early in the year. So our next step would be to get a housing plan implementation committee. So what I would do is suggest this charge to the committee, that the Board of Selectmen hereby appoints a housing plan implementation committee to recommend promptly to the Board of Selectmen next steps in implementing the town's housing plan, including investigation of the establishment of a community housing trust or an appropriate local financial vehicle with the assistance of Jocelyn Ayer and a $5,000 grant from the Litchfield County Center for Housing Opportunity. And 2, consider the appointment of a Cornwall housing advocate. So I would say that we should take that action and appoint the following members: Margaret Cooley, Ella Clark, Jill Cutler, Priscilla Pavel, Livia Corridor, Pam Wilson, Ingrid Ellen, Jessica Brackman, myself as ex officio, and also Heather Deneen, our social service agent. So does anybody want to make that motion to have that charge in those people?
Gordon, can I interrupt? I'm sorry. Could you read the list again a little more slowly?
Okay. Margaret Cooley, Ella Clark, Jill Cutler, Priscilla Pavel, Livia Corridor, and that's Corredor, Pam Wilson, her last name is spelled Weltzin, Ingrid Ellen, Jessica Brackman, Heather Deneen, and myself as ex officio member. There may be a couple of names you may not recognize there, but because we put out a request for people, we found there are people newly moved to town with housing experience that volunteered to be on this. So again, taking advantage of some of our new residents' expertise to do this. And I can send you a copy of all the text, Lisa, if you want to see text of that motion.
Yes, thanks.
Okay. So did somebody make that motion?
Not yet.
Okay, so somebody make that motion?
I will be happy to make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'd be happy to second.
Okay, any discussion?
Nope.
Okay, and again, thank everybody for volunteering to do this, and we don't expect it to take that long with our expert help to come back quickly with some recommendations on practical next steps. Okay, so no more discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next, big issue, a lot of big issues here, is update funding for West Cornwall Wastewater project. I was very fortunate to receive a phone call from our Congresswoman, Jonna Hayes, on Friday, who is awaiting the president to sign the budget, and said our wastewater project is part of the federal budget that was passed and signed into law by President Biden last weekend. So anyway, she was very excited to have the project she recommended come through, and thanked us for our patience, and I thanked her for her work on making this happen. She worked very hard on getting this through the process, and so the news is that we received a federal grant of $3 million as part of the Community Projects Fund, and thank the literally dozens of Cornwall people that wrote letters in support, and officials that wrote excellent recommendations for it. And we were fortunate to have a great engineering report ready to go in a very short time. So our timing was good. And, I mean, from my perspective, I don't think the town of Cornwall has ever received $3 million grant for anything. I mean, it's this is out of our ballpark. So anyway, we have to receive, we're still going to wait for the details. Congressman Hayes said they want to push the money out to us as soon as possible, but I'm sure there are federal requirements with all this, which I'm sure Barbara Herbst can handle. So my thought on moving this forward is I will work with the Congresswoman's office to get us as much information as soon as possible about this. I'm optimistic that we could call the study group back together to meet next month in April, start getting a schedule together. We have to get advice from the bond council, and I know Lisa had been working on what's called an explanatory text. As soon as we get the financial details, we have to come up with something the state has to approve as far as our publicity piece to the town explaining what we're proposing to do. So those are all steps that need to be taken. I did talk to the engineer, Steve McDonald, and he was also elated about that. His firm is still applying to USDA because we still may need what's called a bridge loan to get us from approval time to the actual bonding period. And there may even be USDA grant on top of this other grant that we may be able to get because this project is of, region and statewide importance. So there's quite a bit of work to be done, but I'm optimistic that we could probably have some informational meetings in, say, June and vote in July, something like that. We could push it, but we do have a town budget process that we have, meetings, and have a town meeting of that in May. So, so whatever, we'll know more by the middle of next month. We'll hope to set a tentative schedule after talking to our advisors. But again, this is great news, and thanks for everybody on the federal and state level and locally that pulled for this. I think it's very exciting. It dovetails with a new revitalization of West Cornwall. We've heard that the restaurant the new restaurant's supposed to open up on May 1st, and there already are other businesses that are doing a good job there with recreational businesses. So anyway, I think the timing's good. And one of the things the engineer is going to do is update the cost estimates, because no doubt, like everything else, the costs have gone up while we're waiting the grant. But anyway, we want to get accurate, up-to-date information before we vote. But I would think we'd be able to vote, as I said, somewhere June, July in there. So that would be my goal to do that. But we have to have all the details first and find out what the federal requirements are for this program. So that was much more of a funding update than I thought we were going to have when we put the agenda out on Thursday. Are there any questions from the board about that?
Oh, congratulations, Gordon. I know how hard, we're certainly all aware how hard you've worked on this personally, and you must feel just amazing about it. So, kudos to you for staying on top of that and seeing it through, because I know it wasn't easy.
I don't like to bug people, but I did.
Yeah.
So anyway, but again, I think it's also the strength of the project was clear to people. And again, Congresswoman Hayes actually came down and walked West Cornwall, as did the Lieutenant Governor. Maria Horn's been there. They all see the potential of what the village could be with a little bit of an upgrade. So
it's a big deal.
Anyway, exciting times, big deal, a lot of work ahead. But I do feel this is a huge milestone to have us, an opportunity to be in front of us at this point.
Totally agreed.
Great. So talking about opportunities, let's talk about mobile healthcare in Cornwall.
Mobile healthcare. That's my turn to talk, right?
Yes.
So the update is the group that we're talking to is the Community Health and Wellness. They run community health centers in Torrington and in Canaan, and they've crafted a mobile offering for healthcare that they have in Sharon, is one of the towns that benefited. But we've been in conversation with them about bringing mobile healthcare to Cornwall, since we've not had healthcare here for 30 years. Thank you, Anna Tamel. So what we're talking about is doing a walkthrough next month. We're looking at 2 locations, one in West Cornwall, one potentially either at the library or town hall. So that conversation has to happen. We just wanted to find a place that was comfortable, where the unit could pull up and then have access to, like water and bathrooms and that kind of stuff, and be a comfortable place for people to wait if they needed to wait for a minute. So that is a no charge to the town. So all we're doing is providing the place for them to pull up, comfortable, clean facilities, and they do their business. They will take Medicare, Medicaid, private pay out of pocket. They do reduced fees. So if somebody is paying out of pocket, it's not going to be that much. But there's opportunities, like if somebody doesn't have healthcare, that's another thing that we can tackle also. So we can work with Heather Deneen to make sure people do get healthcare if they're qualified for it. So we're looking at May 4th as the launch date. I wanted to give a little bit of time just to make people aware of the services. So, the community health and wellness people had, some patients to start with. They're not worried about it. So they're not worried if there's, 75 people in line. That's not the point. The point is they want to be able to offer to anyone who needs it. They can do well checkups, sick checkups, COVID testing. They can do vaccinations of any kind. So it could be pneumonia, flu, pretty much anything we need. So it's just very exciting. So, and it's definitely happening. Any questions? Anna?
Just a comment, the Health and Wellness Center is a federally qualified health center. And I've worked for several of those. They are required by federal law to have what is called a sliding scale fee schedule for self-pay patients. And so in other words, you provide information about your income and they set the fee that you're going to have to pay. And it's usually quite reasonable. So that is a really positive feature about this ban. So I want to thank you, Janet, for the work you've done.
It's in my wheelhouse, Anna, so, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yep. Yeah, so, anybody who does come to that clinic and doesn't have health insurance, we would also be able to help take the steps to get them signed up for health insurance, whether they needed Medicare, if they'd never signed up for Medicare, Medicaid, or if they need to get other insurance, we could help them with that. Any other questions from the board?
No, so we'll have more details before May 4th.
Yeah, I think, like by next month, I should have some of the communications put together. I'll be helping them doing some of their publicity. I'll do that pro bono, obviously. But it's, I've worked with community health and wellness before. They're delightful people, super easy to work with, and I know their communications director very well. So it's a piece of cake.
Okay,
I want to say thank you.
So- yes,
Thank you to Janet for this because it's so important.
Well, down the road, we can look at figuring out how to bring, dental and imaging and other services that would be certainly welcome in our community and be supportive of the communities around us. But, one step at a time, like just having primary care available at, low or no cost to our citizens is a necessary thing, and it's a completely doable thing. So just look at this as phase one, if you will. But thank you, Priscilla.
okay, anything else on mobile healthcare? Okay, good, thank you. Railroad spraying, I have written state and contractors asking for their schedule when they're proposing to spray, and also a confirmation that they recognize the no spray zones that were delineated by the state, and also asking the state if there's any progress on removing the trees that were killed by the previous applications of herbicide. So I will share those with the board. I believe they're not going to spray until early summer is usually the time where this happens. There has to be something alive for them to kill. So anyway, we'll keep that as an agenda item as we learn more.
Good.
Next, we have town office oil tank report. I think I sent the board a copy of a report that we got from an environmental company. It was subcontracted by Jim Terrell when they found evidence on removing the old oil tank at the town office. They found some petroleum residues from a even older oil tank, which this company took out a lot of the questionable soil and remediated it and put in some air filtration system, passive system that they think will help break down the hydrocarbons, and did not feel this would be any major or even would not be an environmental threat. They took out the contaminated soil, disposed of it, and whatever other things are there should be able to be remediated by what they put in place. So basically we got a clean bill of health getting out of the oil business. We put in a propane system to replace oil. That was our last in-ground tank on town property. And the tank we put in 30 years ago actually wasn't a problem. It's the one that was there before. So anyway, I think we're done with that. Next we have Mira. There is a meeting with Mira next week, tomorrow. And I have talked to Maria Horn. There are several, I believe what they're going to do in the legislature is to appoint a task force to come up with a long-term solid waste solution options for the state, as they're pretty stymied at this point other than trucking the garbage out of state. So we'll hear more from Mira. They did drop their anticipated tip fees slightly. One thing I thought of that I will push at their meeting Next, tomorrow would be, where have they considered shipping some of this garbage out by rail? If they're gonna go somewhere with it, it'd be much more environmentally sound to ship it out by rail than it would be to have trucks beat up the highways. So, and there are, rail sidings in our area that might be able to accommodate some of that. So that's my little thought. If we have to do it, we might as well ship it by rail instead of trucks. Seem like, especially with the price of diesel currently, like one of the worst ways to go. So anyway, we're working on that. Also, I'm going to try to touch base with people in Litchfield that have a good composting program for household things. So we're still going to pursue that. The transfer station, new offices proceeding nicely. It looks good. The outline's in place. So again, we hope to do our part in trying to reduce our tonnages of garbage that we ship out. Anything else on Mira? Most of the towns in the area, I think, did sign back up. Next, Optimum meeting update. There was a couple of teleconferences last week, which I had other teleconferences to go to, but I've enlisted the help of Johan Windsor, who worked on previous internet committee, and also Andrew Hofer, who has expressed interest in fiber optics. And they both attended the meetings and have a couple of talking points going forward about the install from Optimum. Everybody's very optimistic about this. They hope to, get wires strung and activated in the area this year. The first thing is they are going to put up some utility cabinets. I think 3 in town, the side of the road, for their drop systems. And so anyway, we are trying to get a meeting together with them to get some of the more information out to people as far as what are the details on this proposal. It's kind of interesting because in a way Optimum's going to be competing with itself, because they're also going to have some other cable lines. So they have to have people sign up for the service. You don't automatically get the service. So you have to sign on to the fiber. And some people might say, well, I like cable. So anyway, so they're, if nothing else, they're going to be competing with themselves. So apparently they're going to try to get some, long-term customer signups to make things fairly attractive at the early stage. But there are questions that we have about people with long driveways. How's that going to work? And a few other things, details. So anyway, so we have a little good work group there. And I think Johan is putting a article together for next month's Chronicle. And so we're on it. And again, there are people in Litchfield and Goshen that are working together. So we know what other towns are doing. And so far, Optimum's pretty forthcoming with their plans. And again, they filed some drawings with planning and zoning. These cabinets will be in the town right of ways, not on people's property. They'll look pretty much like, if people know what utility cabinets look like when people go to underground power, they may be slightly bigger than that, but basically a metal box size of dining room table, something like that. So anyway, that's moving along nicely.
I have a
Any other
question.
thoughts on that? Yes.
So I'm just curious, so are Johan Windsor and Andrea Hofer kind of taking the place of the internet committee? Is that kind of, are they our
they're working.
representation?
Well, I'm sort of the representation, and they're working to advise me if I can't make things. So it's a little bit, it's not an official thing at this point, but they are attending meetings as interested parties on behalf of the towns.
Okay.
Yes. So that's where we're at this point.
Okay, because that's important, that we are active in that arena.
Yes.
Excellent. And they're good people to do it.
Yes. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Next, we have a regional hazard mitigation plan. There's one that the COG puts together. It's required by the federal government to get emergency aid. So we have to sign off that we've seen it. And I believe we sent that out to you. Do you remember getting that? Just look through it. Have a chance to get to that. I'm not sure with all the excitement we got that done. So that's ringing any bells? Regional mitigation plan. Maybe
No.
we'll
That is
table that.
not ringing a
next-
bell
let-
to me.
Let's table that to next month to make sure we've got
Good.
that properly reviewed. Okay.
All right, that's something we need to review and be able to make comments on.
Yeah, if you want to. I mean, with the town has its own hazard mitigation plan. What are we doing? Times of flood and
Oh, okay, got it.
mayhem and things. And it's again, what do we see as far as natural hazards and what plans are in place regionally?
Okay,
And basically there is Region 5 of which we are part of. And again, whether it's a virus or a tornado, there are plans to deal with any type of emergency. And we just have to pay attention as municipal leaders because federal government does not want there to be a major disaster and have no plan. And as we know, plans, the plans get thrown out sometimes, but at least to have a plan and think about these things ahead of time is much better than not have a plan. So again, we will look at that next time. We did get some information on from Seymour Sealing to resurface some roads in town. Even with the increased price of oil, we were able to get some roads done this spring. And Jim has worked with the contractor that we've used before and done a very good job on chip sealing roads. We use stone instead of sand. We used to use sand, which created a lot more dust. So the roads we're proposing to do are Great Hollow Road, Essex Hill Road, Great Hill Road, and the hill only, and then College Street. So if Lisa's here, she's still here with the press, we need to get that out in the Chronicle that we will be doing some road work and resurfacing roads basically in the East Cornwall area. And that will happen in April, because if we do it in April, we can use heavier oil than we can if we do it in the summertime. So and those roads will be swept before and after the stone is put down, and we sweep up whatever stone we don't use, whatever doesn't get rolled into it, and then we use it again the following year. So about half the stone we use is picked up from the previous year's projects. So it's not quite as much as we'd like to do because of the price of oil going up, but we felt like we should do some.
Mhm.
So I would make a motion to approve Jim's recommendation to do parts or all of Great Hollow Road, Essex Hill Road, Great Hill Road, and College Street with Seymour Sealing for approximately $100,000 this April. This money it's been already allocated in last year's budget for this year's budget. So is there a second? Second. Bill is on there. Okay. Any discussion? All those in
No.
favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is food pantry update. Talked to Heather regularly. She said last week we had the highest amount of people in the food pantry, using 31 families using that facility. So it's busier and busier. We are also providing some food to students at Cornwall Consolidated School. So the food issues are real here. And Heather and her crew do a great job. But again, it's become increasingly important for people to have that food security. So just keep that in our minds as something important that we do.
Gordon, I have a quick question.
Yes,
I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for us to provide gas cards. as you know, drive a Mini Cooper that gets 1,000,000 miles. And I had maybe 2/3 of a tank to fill. It cost me about $50. So I can imagine people, really panicking about that. Is there an opportunity to perhaps give out gas cards?
Well, I think Heather she has about 70 client families.
Okay.
And so she has a pretty clear idea of what the needs are. We have not given out money for gas in the past. It's mostly food, rent, medical supplies. But
I'm just
again,
concerned because there's no way that people aren't going to need some assistance there. If they have, you have to drive everywhere. So that I just noted that today and I was like, my goodness, there's gonna be some people with a real problem with this. So I just want to see if there's an opportunity for us to do something.
yeah, I think the other problem too is because we've had such a demand for heat and fuel, our funds are down from what they were a year ago. So it's real. I think what I read today that there may be some relief coming from the state level on gas prices, gas taxes and things. They're going to push something through. So anyway, we'll keep that in mind.
Would it be appropriate to contact Heather and just see if there needs to be an appeal for monies, to help people with gas or donating gas cards or anything of that ilk?
I could talk to Heather.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a tax refund, one request, $5.10. Is that the extent of our tax request today, John?
Yes, $5 and a penny.
Oh, and a penny, I overstated.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, I'll make a motion that on the recommendation of Jean, that we grant the tax request of $5 and a penny. I'm glad people are watching their pennies still. That's good. So there's a second bill there for that. I think we can do that. It was an overpayment. Okay.
Buy a gallon of gas.
There you go. So then, have a second, any discussion? We're discussed. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Good. So that, I believe, is our agenda. We didn't have any major additions other than to remind people the vaccination clinic. Tomorrow, public comment. Any public? Thank the public for coming. I don't see, the press is not here. So I don't see them. Any public comments? Okay, hearing none. Wish you all good night and thanks for joining us. Okay, take care, folks.
Good
Stay
night.
warm.
Good night.
All right.